Chapter 1. The weight we all carry. Let's be honest, life doesn't always break you in one big dramatic blow. More often, it breaks you slowly, quietly. It builds up over time. A missed deadline, a strained relationship, a pile of unspoken fears, a list of obligations that keeps growing while your energy keeps shrinking. You keep moving. You show up. You smile. You keep doing what needs to be done. But underneath it all, you feel it. That invisible heaviness. Like you're carrying weights no one can see. Your body's tense. Your mind is spinning. Your spirit, somewhere between weary and numb. And yet, you say nothing. Because everyone else seems fine. Everyone else is grinding. Everyone else is pushing through. So you convince yourself it's just you. You must be the weak one. You must not be doing enough. You must be failing at something others have figured out. But what if you're not failing? What if you're just human, living in an inhuman pace, under inhuman pressure, without being given the space to feel it, process it, or speak it? This is where Stoicism enters, not as a motivational slogan, but as a lifeline. You see, the Stoics never pretended life wasn't hard. They didn't ignore pain. They didn't shame themselves for struggling. They accepted the struggle as part of the path. Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing his meditations from a mountain retreat with perfect peace. He was writing while sick, while leading in war, while losing people he loved. He felt betrayal, grief, fatigue, anger. But still, he found the strength to write. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That's not motivational fluff. That's hard-earned wisdom from a man who carried the weight of an empire and still found clarity in the chaos. It means this: you don't wait for the heaviness to go away. You work with it. You walk through it. You shape yourself in response to it. Because the truth is, everyone's carrying something. Some carry regret. Others carry shame. Some carry expectations. Others carry grief, anxiety, pressure, doubt. It's not the weight that breaks you. It's carrying it alone. It's believing no one else feels it. It's thinking that feeling overwhelmed makes you unworthy of peace. The Stoics didn't believe that. They believed that resilience isn't a denial of pain. It's the willingness to stand inside of it with presence, with principle, and with perspective. They didn't say, don't feel. They said, don't be ruled by what you feel. So if life feels heavy right now, if you're exhausted, uncertain, or breaking beneath the surface, this is not weakness. This is life doing what life does. And this is where you discover what you do. Because heaviness doesn't just crush, it reveals. It shows you what needs to be let go. It shows you where you've been silent too long. It shows you where you've handed over your energy to things that don't deserve it. This is the starting place. Not of breakdown, but of building something real. So stop asking yourself, why is this so hard? Start asking, how can I grow in this? What is this moment asking me to become? What truth have I ignored while trying to hold it all together? Because sometimes, what feels like life falling apart is really you finally laying down what was never yours to carry. And that's where the real work begins. Chapter 2. The myth of constant strength. Let's talk about one of the most damaging lies we're sold. That real strength means never cracking, never hesitating, never doubting, never struggling. That's the image we're shown. The perfect soldier, the flawless entrepreneur, the unshakable parent, the always confident leader. It's polished, it's curated, it's performative, but it's not real. Real life isn't a highlight reel. It's not neatly edited. It's messy, it's exhausting, and yes, sometimes it's overwhelming. So what happens when you believe that strength means never struggling? But you are struggling. You hide, you fake it, you pretend, you beat yourself up for being human. And all that pretending, it adds weight. Now you're not just overwhelmed, you're ashamed of being overwhelmed. That's the trap. The Stoics knew this. They weren't out here flexing their invincibility. They were sitting with pain, with discomfort, with uncertainty, and doing the work anyway. Epictetus was born a slave. His leg was broken. His freedom was taken. But instead of becoming bitter or defeated, he trained his mind to become unshakable. He didn't say, ignore your pain. He said, you may not control life, but you always control your response. And that response doesn't have to be flawless, it just has to be deliberate. You can cry and still be strong. You can feel anxious and still take action. You can feel completely out of your depth and still stand your ground, because strength isn't about feeling nothing. It's about being honest with what you feel and choosing your values anyway. In fact, it takes far more strength to admit, "I'm not okay right now," than to pretend you're fine. It takes strength to pause and reflect, to choose stillness when anger feels easier, to ask for help when pride says, "Just deal with it." Our culture celebrates relentless hustle, but Stoicism celebrates intentional endurance. There's a difference. One says, "Don't stop no matter what." The other says, "Know when to rest. Know what's worth enduring, and know what's just ego." Let me ask you, who told you that being tired makes you weak? Who convinced you that struggling makes you less than? Who sold you the story that if you're not crushing it every day, you're somehow behind? Because that's not Stoic, that's insecure. The Stoic doesn't seek to dominate, they seek to align with nature, with wisdom, with truth. And truth says this: you're a human being. You will fall, you will doubt, you will be overwhelmed. That's not failure, that's friction. And friction isn't the enemy, it's the fire that shapes you. So instead of asking, "Why am I not strong enough to avoid this?" ask, "How can I be strong enough to move through it with dignity?" Because the myth of constant strength will leave you pretending your way through life. But the reality of Stoic strength, it will shape you into someone who can stand tall, even when everything else is falling apart. Chapter 3. What you can control and what you can't. When life feels like too much, when your mind spins with what-ifs, when the stress is constant and the pressure relentless, pause, breathe, and remember this simple Stoic truth: you are not responsible for everything. You are responsible for your response to everything. That may sound obvious, but most people live as if the opposite were true. We try to fix other people's opinions. We try to predict every outcome. We try to rewrite the past. We try to control how we're seen, what happens next, and how everything unfolds. But the Stoics drew a hard line in the sand between two categories. 1, what is within your control. 2, what is not. This wasn't just theory, it was a mental operating system. Your thoughts, yours. Your decisions, yours. Your values, yours. Your effort, yours. Everything else, the economy, not yours. The weather, not yours. The past, not yours. What others think of you, not yours. Whether someone loves you, supports you, likes you, or forgives you, not yours. And the more you try to carry what was never yours to hold, the more exhausted and overwhelmed you'll feel. It's like trying to paddle upstream, blindfolded, while blaming the river for not going your way. That's not power, that's delusion. And yet, we all do it. We replay the argument we had last week. We worry about outcomes we can't predict. We obsess over how we're being perceived. We ruminate, we spiral, we spin, and all of it takes energy away from what we can actually do. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Because the human mind is amazing, but untrained, it can become a torture device. We imagine disasters that never come. We create scenarios that paralyze us. We cling to control in places where surrender is the only way forward. The Stoics were radical in their discipline. If it's not in your control, they said, drop it, let it go, stop feeding it, stop nursing it, stop carrying it. But that's not the same as apathy. It's not, I don't care. It's I care deeply, but I care about what is mine to shape. So let's get practical. Feeling anxious about the future, what can you control? Your preparation, your mindset, your response to whatever happens. Feeling stressed about what someone thinks of you. What can you control? Your character, your intention, your clarity. Feeling weighed down by a mistake you made. What can you control? Owning it, apologizing, learning, moving forward with integrity. Everything else? That belongs to the world, not to you. And yes, letting go feels like surrender at first. But with time, you'll see it's not surrender, it's precision. It's saying, I will not waste energy on ghosts. I will not try to solve storms. I will not lose myself trying to control what has never been mine. Because that's where real strength lives, not in trying to bend reality to your will, but in choosing your response to reality with wisdom. That's where the Stoic becomes unshakable, not because life is easy, but because they only carry what they were built to carry. And that's enough. Chapter 4. Resilience is a skill, not a trait. There's this idea people carry, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, that resilient people are just built different, like they were born with steel in their blood, like they came out of the womb calm, wise, unshaken. But that's not true. Resilience is not something you're born with. It's something you build. And just like muscle, it grows through resistance. That's why Stoicism isn't about sounding good on paper. It's a training system for the mind. It's mental weightlifting. It's putting yourself under pressure on purpose, so when the world pushes back, you don't collapse. Every hardship is a representative. Every setback, a stretch. Every disappointment, a training session in emotional clarity. And reps, they don't feel good in the moment. When you're under the weight, whether it's grief, anxiety, uncertainty, or just daily exhaustion, it feels like too much. But the Stoic asks, how can I use this? What quality is this calling me to practice? What kind of person do I want to become in response to this? Because they understood, pain is not always punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. We look at Marcus Aurelius like he was a superhuman philosopher king, but he wasn't immune to doubt. He wasn't free from pain. He simply made his discomfort useful. When he lost children, he wrote about perspective. When he faced betrayal, he wrote about self-restraint. When his empire was in chaos, he wrote about keeping the inner citadel intact. That's not weakness, that's resilience. And not the surface level, smile through it kind of resilience. The deep kind. The kind that's earned. It's the ability to feel your emotions without being ruled by them. To accept reality without becoming bitter. To adapt without abandoning yourself. Let me be very clear. Resilience doesn't mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean you don't panic. It doesn't mean you don't break down at 2 a.m. when no one's watching. It means you get back up. You reflect. You learn. You get honest. And then you show up again. With more clarity, more calm, more strength. Not because the storm got easier, but because you got wiser. Most people think resilience is about getting over it. But Stoics don't get over pain. They go through it. And they leave stronger than they were before. So ask yourself, what if this isn't here to break me? What if it's here to train me? What if this situation is giving me a chance to practice who I say I want to become? That's how the Stoics thought. And that mindset. It's not reserved for philosophers in togas. It's for you. Right now, exactly where you are. No matter how far behind you feel. No matter how shaky you've been. No matter how dark your current chapter may seem. You are not defective. You're in training. And with every rep, you get a little stronger, a little wiser, a little more grounded. You don't need to become resilient. You just need to keep practicing. Chapter 5. Turning pain into purpose. There comes a moment in every life, in every struggle, in every storm, where something shifts, where you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do with this? That moment is where suffering becomes sacred, where hardship becomes usable, where pain becomes purpose. And the Stoics, unlike most philosophies, didn't run from that moment. They leaned into it. They welcomed it. Because to them, life wasn't meant to be easy. It was meant to shape you. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. Let that line sink in. The obstacle is the path, not a detour, not a distraction, not something to avoid, something to move through. That diagnosis, that heartbreak, that financial crisis, that betrayal, that season of depression or uncertainty, it feels like the end. But it may be the invitation, an invitation to grow deeper roots, to finally examine what you've avoided, to stop numbing and start listening, to ask the harder questions, to rise, not because everything is perfect, but because your pain refuses to let you stay small. You've probably heard the phrase, everything happens for a reason. The Stoic would disagree. They'd say, everything happens. You give it a reason. You assign the meaning. You build the bridge. You decide what this pain gets to become. You lost the job. Now you learn creativity. You lost the relationship. Now you learn independence. You lost your sense of certainty. Now you build faith in your ability to adapt. This is where Stoicism becomes spiritual in the most grounded, honest way. It doesn't promise rescue. It offers response. It doesn't pretend life is fair. It says, life isn't fair. What will you do about it? Because that's what power looks like. Not waiting for your circumstances to change, but choosing who you will become despite them. This is why scars matter. Because every scar is a reminder. I went through something, and I came out with wisdom I couldn't have gotten any other way. The world tries to sell you comfort. The Stoics offer you character, and character is built in the fire, not on the beach. So ask yourself, what has hurt me the most in life? And what has it taught me? What pain am I still carrying that could be transformed into strength, service, or perspective? What would it mean to stop resisting the hard thing and start using it? Because your pain is either going to become the story that holds you back, or the story that brings others light, but it can't do both. So choose the one that turns you into something stronger. Choose the one that lifts someone else when they hear it. Choose the one that rewrites what struggle means. Because life will break you. Yes. But the Stoic says, let it break what no longer serves you. Let it break the illusion. Let it break the ego. Let it break your need for ease. And in what's left, what's honest, what's raw, what's real, build something unshakable. Chapter 6. The way through is within. So where does this leave you? Maybe you're still in the middle of the storm, still waiting for answers, still overwhelmed by everything you're carrying. Maybe you're exhausted, not from a single tragedy, but from the slow burn of holding it together for too long. From pretending you're okay, from showing up with a strong face when your spirit is whispering for rest. If that's you, you're not alone, and you're not failing. You're just carrying too much, and not all of it is yours. So stop, not forever, just for a moment. Breathe. Feel the air in your lungs. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the quiet presence of now, because this moment, this exact moment, is where Stoicism begins. Not in books, not in quotes, not in deep philosophy. Here. Now the Stoic says, I don't need the world to calm down for me to be calm. I don't need life to get easier for me to live with strength. What I need is to return to what's mine, my thoughts, my perspective, my choices, my values, my next small deliberate step. That's it. You don't need to figure everything out today. You don't need to fix your entire life this week. You don't need to be unbreakable. You just need to come back to you. Because in the noise you forgot. In the pressure, you twisted yourself to keep up. In the overwhelm, you gave away your peace, trying to control things you never could. So now, it's time to return. Not to who you used to be, but to something deeper, wiser, more grounded. You've been through things. You've learned hard lessons. You've seen the fragility of certainty. But now you get to choose what comes next. You get to say, I will only carry what's mine. I will act with clarity, not chaos. I will move through difficulty, not as a victim, but as a builder of character. And even when the weight returns, and it will, you won't fear it, because you'll know. It doesn't own you, it doesn't define you, it doesn't break you. It simply becomes part of your training, part of your wisdom, part of your path. So breathe again, not because everything is fixed, but because you've remembered who you are. And who you are is someone strong enough to carry what matters, and finally set down what doesn't. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are human. You are in motion. You are learning the discipline of resilience. And resilience is not about always standing tall. It's about getting back up, quietly, again and again, until standing strong becomes your default. So carry what's yours, let go of the rest, and when it feels heavy again, return to the root. What stands in the way becomes the way.